Welcome to Reimagining Retirement interview with Ken Schuette. And Ken is a longtime friend of Ken and his family, actually, are a longtime friend of me and my family. We went to the same church and where we raised our kids together. We were in small groups together and we've socialized ever since, actually. And I'm so thankful for longtime friendships like this one. And Ken retired from a long and successful career in electronics and design engineering about 4 years ago, I think. And I'll let him tell you about his career in more detail. But I believe, in my opinion, he has handled retirement extremely well. So I hope that this interview will encourage you and will inspire you and maybe give you an idea or two to help you as you consider your own retirement. So welcome, Ken, and thank you so much for sharing this time with us.
Judy, I'm glad that you reached out and asked me because I've been enjoying this next chapter in my life, and I will enjoy sharing some of the highlights of what I've learned, and maybe, like you said, others can learn from it too. So let's go.
Perfect. So let's start by let's hear about your career. So where did you start out? How did that progress, and where did you end up?
Okay, so just an interesting side bit. I grew up on a farm in Wisconsin, so doing things with my hands and trying to figure things out was a natural. So when I was leaving high school, electronics was in its infancy, and I wanted to jump on that bandwagon. So I decided to come to DeVry here in Chicago for my education to learn electronics. And when I graduated, there was an opening at a newly built hospital. So it had the state-of-the-art St. Mary of Nazareth Hospital on Division Street. And I got an opportunity there to join their, what they called biomedical group. And as a result, got introduced to heart monitoring equipment and surgery equipment for heart surgery. They were one of the premier hospitals for that. And in that group, we repaired pagers, if you remember what those are. Yeah. And also then the building automation equipment. So the biomed group had three responsibilities, which really helped me try out three different careers. And I think because of my rural and farming background, the building automation really interested me to be able to use a keyboard to turn on big equipment and operate the building and get to know how all that stuff works. And so that was fascinating. And then after being there about 5 years, my boss came to me, and he had become a really good friend as well. And he said, Ken, you hit the ceiling. And if you want to stay here, that's great. You can work here as long as you want. But I'm just telling you that if you want to grow your career, my feelings aren't hurt if you look elsewhere for advancement. And it just so happened that a large engineering firm was looking to fill positions in Chicago. And so I joined that company and did building automation for nuclear and fossil power plants. And again, I was fascinated by that, to go out to Rockford to the Byron plant and down by Braidwood, Illinois, to the nuclear plants that were being built, and go inside and be a part of making that system operate. And I did that for about 7 years. Then that industry kind of dried up and came to a halt, and the only work that was available was over in India. And that meant 6 months before you could even come home again. And I decided, no, our kids were young, and I did not want to miss out on being a dad. So I started looking for another job, and there was a privately held engineering company in Chicago that was looking, and I interviewed several times and was hired there to be part of their beginning phase of doing their own building automation. And I thought, oh, wow, that's kind of neat being on the ground floor. So I enjoyed working there, advanced in my career, grew that automation department. We've I became director after a while of the automation group, and a few years into the company history, invited onto the board of directors, and ultimately to become a part owner of the company. So I invested heavily in the company, both in time, talent, and finances. And so it was a good ride, because a private company allowed for flexibility and growing and kind of dreaming outside the box as to what we could do. And I tell you, I had more than one of those dream projects where you look back and you say, you're lucky if you get one of these. I got two, and it was a great job. It kept me there. It kept me rooted, and really no desire to look elsewhere, to move, and allowed me to grow and stay within the company, influence others, younger engineers coming in, and being a part of their growth and their career path as well.
Awesome. It sounds like a fabulous career, and you should be proud of your work. I'm sure you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump right into retirement. So you retired about almost 4 years ago. Is that right?
It was. Now COVID did not influence my retirement date.
Okay.
I reached age 66 in 2020. And so by the end of 2020 was my retirement plan. And so that worked out as I had planned. It was kind of interesting. My retirement luncheon, if you will, everybody wearing the COVID mask.
Yeah.
And my wife had cut up my logoed shirts and made masks with the company name on all the masks. And so us and the kids and some of the grandkids were there that day, celebrating with me. So that was kind of neat. And it will be one of those memorable retirements where, the grandkids will say, why are you wearing masks? What's the deal? And so there will always be a story to tell.
Yeah, that's right.
But that brought 45 years of my career to the end, and I did not regret it. Walking out of the company for the last time, so to speak. I've maintained friendships, of course, over the years, but and a friend of mine refers to this next chapter as Life 3.0, and I kind of like that saying. But I use the terminology next chapter, and because not it's not just going to sleep and waking up and resting all day. So what do you do now? You've gained all these skills. I was a project manager, and so performing solutions, coming up with ideas to get to the end game was my life, and just to turn that off was not going to be an option for me.
No, and that's good. Yeah. That I think we should all think about. What have we learned? What can we contribute? So that's great. So you prepared quite a lot for retirement, right? So you were ready to retire. It was your decision to retire. Is that right?
That is correct. I could have stayed longer. Some before me went part-time. They did the 4-day week. They did just to still have some time at home and that option was available to me as well. But I decided, and maybe this part was COVID related, I decided that it was just kind of difficult right now to maintain those relationships, because with success, there's networking, there's conferences, there's things you do with people, and that was taken away. And so and I realized that in my field of work, this field was going to have to redefine itself after COVID, and I felt what a great opportunity for the younger generation. And I can just say I had a great run. Good. And it was time to do something else. But to your point, I would say at least 10 years prior to retirement, you start looking at the financial thing. 5 years prior to retirement, we made sure we had our financial package where we wanted it to be as I would coast into retirement. But then, and I loved reading books on it. But 3 years out from retirement is where, all right, and I had gotten some good advice from others that said, okay, if you really want to be enjoy your retirement, try to figure out what would you do for the week and then the month. And if golf shows up on every day, you're in big trouble. And lucky for me, I didn't like golf, so I had to come up with something else. And 3 years prior to retirement is when you can then, or what I then started getting more involved in my church. And there was other nonprofits that I was involved with. And so to come up to retirement and say, okay, now what do I do? Let me knock on some doors, and maybe there's a nonprofit that needs some help. I wanted to have that train in motion. And so there's 3 nonprofits that I'm involved with, and it's a little bit of time here and a little bit of time there. And so that was in motion. And then some of the books that I really took advice from, there was the one that sticks out is How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free by Ernie Zielinski. And that one caught my attention when somebody first brought it, just because of the cover of the book. And I think it's a horse riding a bicycle. And so I read that book, and that kind of got me thinking, okay, the fun side of retirement. I'll admit, as an engineer, fun is not a big part of my world. And so, stoic and fact finding and yes and no, there was no gray, there was no fun part to speak of. So this was a transition for me, and I just took it seriously of what could I do to have fun in my life on a regular basis that would be rewarding. And then to complement that book, the ones that we've probably all heard of: Halftime, Purposeful Retirement, Retire, Don't Refire, The New Retirementality, and then there's one recent, Your Next Season. Those all had good sage advice. There were tidbits in all of those. And so I probably have given away numerous copies of Purposeful Retirement and How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free to friends that were coming up on retirement that maybe were looking for advice. So I bought some copies and would give them a copy of the book. And I started picking up the Retire Happy one more often than I thought I would, of just, okay, what's some ideas? What do we want to do? And how is this going to be a part of my routine? Monday through Friday, Monday through Sunday, 7 days of the week. And so that's how I started thinking about what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where do you find things to fill your time? I had committed that TV during the day was not going to be an option. Yeah. Unless it was some maybe Olympics or something, but that TV was going to stay turned off, and enjoying music as background and so forth. But just let's go with this. Where am I going to go? And what's a typical time slot going to look like?
By the way, I'll put the books that you read in the newsletter, so anybody who wants those titles can look there for a list. And I've read one of them. I've read The New Retirement, The Retirementality. That had some good input, but I'll check out some of these others too.
And so with that, I came up with a checklist. That book, How to Retire Happy, Wild, Free, encourages you, and they give you a checklist of things to look at, and then you start rating yourself of, okay, you fall in this category, and the circles where they out at 3 outer circles, and then you've got the inner circle. Well, everything kind of comes into that, and so again, all this stuff is known by a lot of people, but
Sure.
how do you tailor it to yourself? And so that's what I was interested in. What interests me, different than what interests my wife, and where am I going to fit in and have fun and interact with people and so forth. So probably once a year, if not more, I review this list of things. So it keeps me
That's,
focused.
yeah, that's great advice because, a lot of times we know these things, but we don't think about them so much. If somebody else mentions it, oh yeah, I know that. I've done that. But, you just go on day-to-day living, and often you don't take the time to ask yourself, okay, what am I really looking for? What do I really want? And how can I get that? So that's great advice to have a checklist that you review regularly. So what are some of the questions on that list that most affected you?
Well, there's some that what can I achieve in retirement that would make me proud or leave a legacy? I think as we become grandparents, we start, our antennas go up when we hear somebody talk about legacy. What is your legacy going to be? What's the story your grandkids are going to tell their kids
Yeah.
about great grandpa or grandpa? And you want it to be something that they cherish, and so that's important to me. Does my lifestyle complement my partners? Am I on left and she's on right, or do we have commonality in the middle? And so we search for that, and that's one where I just don't want to get caught up in what I like to do.
Right.
And then, do my time commitments allow me to make a contribution to making this world a better place? Can I give back? And what would that look like, and where? And so, and the last one that kind of sticks out is, am I as grateful as I should be for what I have in my life? Am I thankful?
Yeah.
Not regretful
Yeah.
with that. And so with that in mind, then I put together kind of a schedule. I was challenged to, okay, you think you can do this retirement thing? What is it going to look like?
Yeah.
I my career was time charts and
Yeah.
scheduling,
Yeah.
and okay, guy, make now adapt it to next chapter.
Okay.
And
So how did you adapt that? Run us through your schedule for the week.
yeah, and so in the beginning, it's kind of sparse, obviously, because hey, I'm just transit. It's like a new career, and
Right.
so
Right.
what does that look like? And the fun part of a new career is you're your own boss. You answer to yourself, and of course your spouse. But so I kind of felt, okay, what's some of the top items, and I wanted to do more, have more time with my grandkids during the weekdays and not just on weekends or sometimes the evenings. I there was a God thing that I think I was confronted with, and that was mentoring younger men in their journey through life. I didn't realize I had the ability or the wherewithal to do that until someone that I looked up to kind of reviewed with me what I was doing already. And it's like, if don't be afraid to be a mentor, because look at this and this and this. You're already doing that.
Yeah.
Now just meet with somebody and do it on a regular basis, whether that's twice a month or whatever it might be. So that one surprised me. That my career of shepherding my group, if you will, to come to a completion of a project in a successful way is really mentoring. And now take that to a different level. Not telling people what to do, but them figure out what they need to do on their own.
Yes.
So that was going to be part of what I was doing. And then I wanted to serve more at my church. And so prior to retirement, I got involved with the facility. No surprise there. That was my career path. And so, yeah, I know how all this stuff works. Let me be a part of that. And and so I knew I'd be doing something like that, and then starting to be more active in these other two nonprofits that I was just touching the surface on. One of them I had said, you know what, after retirement, I'm not going to jump in now. That would just be too much. And so waiting for after retirement. But another group I was involved with actually is Christian business owners and their businesses, and we meet once a month. And so that was a natural because I was a member of that already, and then in retirement stayed on as a co-chair, and so that just continued then into retirement. And so, how do you fill your days? So at least one day, it's hard to do this by week, so I'm just going to kind of lay it out by month, and it kind of fills the days. At least one day at church, probably a week. Now, one day means, well, you got your travel time.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting up at 5 o'clock to do this.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, all right, I take in my news reading in the morning, I'm having my cup of coffee, trying not to make any necessary appointments before 9:30.
Yeah.
I just love it. And so
I'm with you on that.
It is. It's just, you're in more control of your time. So why make it stressful? And
right.
There are the exceptions. You know, I've had to be at church at 6 o'clock in the morning to open the door for a contractor. I get that, but that's the exception rather than the rule. And so I did agree to become one of the deacons of the facility. And so that has some responsibilities.
Right.
And so that brings on enlisting others to work with me, just kind of like job related, but on a different level. Now I've got peers that also have vast skills, and they're retired as well. And so we become great friends as we work around the church. And then because of that responsibility, somebody comes to us and says, hey, there's a non-for-profit women's shelter group that has fix-it projects to do once in a while. Would you guys be interested? And so that evolved into maybe once in a while helping fix things or doing stuff for somebody else. And so it started out with one task, and then it grew before we knew it to another task. And that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And so then I mentor several young men, at least one day a week. Now, what is one day a week? That maybe by the time you do travel, because I'll go to Kenosha to meet up with one, and so there's half a day.
Right.
So that's, to me, that's a day. It constitutes that good part of the day. Yeah. And it was something to look forward to, and something to do. One day a week, I try to reach out to old friends or previous coworkers. Maybe we'll get together for lunch or a cup of coffee. And so if I do 2 or 3 of those a month, that's filling some days. Somebody wise once told me that when you leave your place of employment, don't expect them to reach out to you, because they're doing their work, they're doing their job. And so as a retiree, I reach out to them, and they appreciate it. It's like a distraction from their work, and we have lunch someplace, and it's just fun to catch up, because I've known their families for a long time. Now, what are you doing? Where are your kids? Are they through high school? Are they in college? And so it's fun to just catch up again. And I try to take some notes after the fact, so that when I meet with them again, it's like, hey, how's this with so and so? Your daughter was gonna take this job. What happened? You know, where did that go? And so that's kind of fun to be involved with. I still co-lead this Christian business owners group, so there's maybe a half a day of preparation, and then the meeting itself is like a 4-hour meeting, so that's a day right there. And interesting, that group is wanting to now develop a chapter of next chapter, and so as guys retire or sell their business, what next? And so just like we're having this conversation, how can these guys that ran their business, that was their focus, transition to retirement and what would that look like. And
Yeah,
so we're just in the beginning phases of developing this, and I'm looking forward to it as well to be
that's
part
good.
of that can help others fill
Right.
their. I save at least
I really like the Fun Friday idea.
that is
You and Carla.
thing that we decide once I got going on retirement, we realized that I'm doing certain things, she's doing certain things. And so then we decided, you know what, Fun Friday. And it took us a while to transition to that. But now it's okay, somebody calls and says, hey, can I come over on Friday? No, I
Yeah,
don't have to say why. It's just
yeah.
no.
Good
and
plans.
and we may decide we may go to a brew pub, we may just go for a drive in the country, we might visit some friends somewhere,
Yeah,
and but Fridays for us. And yes, there are exceptions. Grandkids have a problem, they need transportation, okay, all bets are off.
yeah,
And so it became something we actually look forward to. There are occasions we'll invite some friends to join us somewhere, but even though we are the only two occupying our house right now as empty nesters, we still feel the need to do things together one-on-one.
yeah,
And
yeah.
as much as it's fun with friends, we recharge our batteries by just being with each other.
Well,
And
that's actually great advice, I think, because it's easy just to do your own thing, and you have to be kind of intentional to keep those relationships strong. So that's an excellent idea.
and,
And
and then
we
I've
have
got
about 5
hobbies.
minutes left, Ken.
Okay.
So
So I've got hobbies I'll do. I enjoy cooking. I prepare food. I enjoy that. Um, and inviting friends to dinner. So by the time you put all that together and shuffle the
yeah,
days of the month,
yeah,
there's the days are filled.
yeah, yeah. That sounds awesome. And I think I love the intentionality of getting together with people you worked with or old friends and spending time with your spouse, that you're being very intentional about how you've structured your time, which is, but still you've got a little freedom um, to take a nice morning and read the paper, relax, and spend time with your grandkids. It's a nice mix, I think, of structure and flexibility.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah,
It energizes me. It's always something to look forward to. And we get sometimes so busy that we do keep a calendar, a
yeah,
blackboard, whiteboard, whatever you want to call it, every week, updating that
yeah,
so that, okay, what are we doing this week? Where we got to be?
yeah,
Who are we meeting with? So
yeah. Oh,
it's
that's
fun.
perfect. Yeah. And lastly, what advice do you have for people who are considering retirement? Maybe they've recently retired. Maybe they just need a little redirection. So, do you have any advice?
I do. And what gave me direction was just taking some time away. If you want to call it a prayer retreat, you want to call it just being by yourself to reflect on what is it I want to do. And that helped me immensely. Getting wisdom from God and just allowing me to take this journey and run with it and not be afraid. And I try to do that once a year by myself and just reconnect, realign. Where I go through that list that we talked about earlier. Is this where I want to be? What's new coming in? And just like projects at work, we've got 6 new projects. We don't have the bandwidth to do it. What's going
Right,
to get cut off on the other end? The
right,
same happens in retirement. If
right.
I'm taking on doing 2 or 3 more things, what am I going to let go of? And so I don't want to be stressed in retirement. And I decided that early on, that if I'm
Yeah,
taking on so much this is stressful, and I'll know it by my blood pressure. It's
okay,
enough. It's too much. So let it go. Just
okay.
have fun.
Excellent advice, Ken. And I just thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom. And I hope anybody who listens to this will really be blessed by your information, your wisdom, and how you've handled it. So thank you.
You're welcome, Judy. Have a great day.
You too.